Welcome to The Thread, where I, together with you, dear listener, attempt to weave the fabric of our personal and collective humanity. We look deep into the nature of life, of being human, and open ourselves up to a deeper, more profound solution to the personal and cultural challenges of our modern times, combining insight from ancient mysticism, movement practice, modern science, and personal lived experience. If you feel my words resonate with you, be invited to check out my website, fieldofvalue.com, for more inspiration, personal guidance, and live and online events. Together, we restore and evolve the tapestry of our shared humanity. Enjoy. Welcome to this episode, in which I talk with Bjarte Hiley. And we've known each other for a while, and from the start we noticed that there is this deep commonality in the work we both do and in the life we've lived. The term Bjarte uses for this common ground is intrinsic pleasure, which is very much similar to the term intrinsic goodness I tend to use, and both terms refer to this deep center in life, this uniting force, or this palpable, visceral sense of meaning, aliveness, and goodness. So, this is what we will explore in the coming episode. I just want to jump right in and ask you what your perspective is on this concept of intrinsic pleasure, because it's kind of a common thread in the work we both do. So, yeah, what does intrinsic pleasure point at for you, and how did you end up with this concept?
Yeah, well, how I ended up with the concept is a bit of a long story. 'Cause it's been a common thread through my life, especially the last, yeah, 20 years, I guess it's getting to now, where I've been sort of um, searching for ways to sort of find the full expression of me. Like, how do I live life? And it's not always been that explicit, but it's sort of started more as like this pain I've been carrying within me that I need to metabolize. I need to sort of find ways to deal with it. And I mean, that took me on a journey to China and deep into martial arts and Taoism, and took me deep into relational arts and really exploring surrender in connection with other people. And the term intrinsic pleasure came to me a few years ago as I was trying to, well, I wasn't really trying to articulate anything, but the moment it arrived, I was just lying on my couch and I was just being present with my experience. And I was just feeling myself, and I was noticing what let me keep on remaining present, like this this sustained presence, not just like these moments of coming back to my experience and moving away. So it was like, yeah, the thing which guides me into presence and lets me stay there is intrinsic pleasure. And I was feeling that viscerally as I was just letting my body move in like these natural ways that it wanted to move. As I was lying still on the couch, I wasn't really doing much like explicit movement, but it was more just like these subtle adjustments and this awareness of like the fact that we're always in movement. There is always movement happening. And this grounding in the body. And coupled with intrinsic pleasure is like, I realized, okay, there's a whole matrix around this there's like it's a map that sort of came to me in this. And it's that the other side of this is the intrinsic pain, which is what we tend to be avoiding, but which I think of as information that's sort of pointing the way back into wholeness. And our avoidance of that pain is sort of also the source of it in some way. So, yeah, intrinsic pain sort of arose out of this journey I've been on, sort of making sense of my own experience and sort of finding this place of trust and surrender, and sort of learning how to live life from that place and sort of failing to do it and then learning from that again. And in my attempts to articulate it so that I can transmit what I'm doing to other people, because it's such a subtle thing which I was exploring, which is so challenging to put into words. And yeah, there was someone who commented on it in the online course that I'm running at the moment just a few days ago, where they were like, oh yeah, it just occurred to me that I'm trying to put words to this place which has no words. And I was like, yeah, that's true. There are really no words that can sort of encompass that experience. And at the same time, these words can be helpful, sort of the way, or point out the way you can walk on your own so that you get to have that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. There's so much resonance with, kind of the cosmology I feel internally and also trying to express. So there's a lot to look into. I'm also always touched by how subtle it is. Like when I am living or touching this place of intrinsic pleasure, or this place of grace, or this place of soul, or this place of spirit embodied, there's the goodness is so tangible, it's so somatic.
Mm-hmm.
Like even talking about it, I get the goosebumps and I feel the energy moving, and it's so so incredibly real. Like one day I was walking in the city, and I had quite a tough day actually, and I walked into this this monk. It was like a Buddhist monk, and he was doing his thing in the city. He was talking to people. You don't see them a lot, but there was one that day. So, and I looked him in the eye, and he reflected this quality. Like it became very visceral, and just through seeing him, this whole field, you could say, of goodness became so present just at once.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, so it's very subtle, but also so very real in experience. It's
Yeah,
like experientially, it's so real, and at the same time, it's so subtle and so easily ignored. Too, it's so easy to walk straight over it.
totally.
And to me, this paradox is so fascinating. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think I think one of the reasons for that is because it's an immeasurable quality.
Hmm.
So it's like our society is like really driven by these materialist values, and sort of we measure progress sort of with these very specific metrics,
Mm-hmm.
and the values of our society are also bound up in these like the thing we call money, and like these numbers which that represents, and sort of this belief system we're in around that, which is sort of the objective worldview in a way.
Yeah.
It's like you're looking at the world through that lens, and in the materialist paradigm, you don't give as much credence to like these subtle experiences which you can't measure other than indirectly. You can sort of find ways to measure um, sort of well-being and stuff like that, but it's like the same thing about the words, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's always something pointing at the thing, which is something you can't reduce to that.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons it's so um, challenging to embody, and also so easy to miss in
Yeah.
these times.
Yeah. This context um, of the times we are in feels very relevant, or the cultural context, so to speak, of um, yeah, it's the context which in a way determines how hard it is to embody this quality. Like always, it makes me think of my time in Costa Rica. Like it just, especially with the local people, they compared to the Netherlands, they're quite very much living in that space to a much greater extent. Um, so it's possible to move into cultures and contexts in which this intrinsic goodness in a way, or the intrinsic pleasure, is more of a just a presence. um, yeah. So what is your perspective on the fact that we as a collective, you could say, have kind of missed this intrinsic pleasure? Like what is the root of the fact that we kind of lost our connection to this intrinsic uh, goodness, or this intrinsic pleasure that is in being? Because when you live in that space, even if it's only for a moment, it makes no sense at all to forget it and to create a life based on numbers and things which are not endued with this quality of aliveness. Just they don't make you feel good. So yeah, what's your perspective on that? Like, why and where do humans lose their way, and yeah, what do you see
Oh
happening
man,
there?
that's a huge question.
Oh, it's huge, but we can see where we end up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really nice one though. It sort of like as a starting point, I just think of this like the story of Adam and Eve, right, and the fall. So this fall, as we took a bite out of the the apple of knowledge of good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
And where the roots are, like exactly of that, I think that's a really interesting question to explore. To me, like, it goes back obviously thousands of years. It's like, without sort of falling into sort of this retro romantic view of hunter gatherers, that's what we evolved to do. That's sort of what our systems evolved to handle. And the challenges that arose out of, like, the agricultural revolution and sort of the huge boon to productivity and our ability to sort of support much larger numbers of people, like the consequences that had on our on certain aspects of our well-being. I think, like, these shocks that we've just experienced gradually through human civilization, say the last 10,000 years, or whatever people happen to believe about exactly what happened there. But if I sort of bring it back to just like our lifetimes, there's multiple elements to that. Well, there's parents, there's our sort of the upbringing that we all go through, and sort of the traumas they carry, which are sort of influenced by their own upbringing. So pointing to the root of it is, I think you'd get something like the illusion of separation, that somehow we're like individuals that need to make it on our own, which is a big part of this. And another aspect of it, sort of built on all of this, is just how our societies have been training us to perform. I mean, there's been a very effective structure which has brought a lot of well-being to us, which we're still stuck with. We're sort of in that, like the schooling system, the way we need to make a living to get by. So there's lots of information from the world about how intrinsic pleasure is not trustable.
Yeah, to me that's the key word in a way. Like, it's a trust thing, a break of trust in a way. Like, I think these are the words of Zach Bush. He calls it an abandonment disorder on the scale of entire humanity in a way. It's like, I feel both on a very personal and in the moment level, and a very great collective level, reaching back into prehistory. It's about trust. It's like just not trusting our own being, not trusting being at large, like nature, the natural world. And that we as humans have this ability and this tendency to distrust ourselves, our own being, and being at large, which is mostly expressed in the natural world. And instead of recognizing this distrust and kind of integrating and healing it, bringing it back in, which you're probably also going to talk about, instead of doing that, there's this tendency to build on this distrust and to create structures and patterns of behavior, and also societal structures which are based on this resistance against being.
Hmm.
And that just compounds, it just grows or spirals and becomes more and more dense till you get
Yeah.
to a point where you have a society which is largely based on this dynamic of not trusting and of separating ourselves from nature, from each other, and from our own being. So this break or this tear runs through many layers. But the root is not trusting, is distrust of, first of all, just our very in the moment experience of being human.
Hmm.
Like we run away from that. It's like, oh, and it's so easy to feel it in. That's why I like meditative practice, when you just sit still and you remove everything and you just sit with your being. Like, what happens? What arises? And for most people, that's quite a terrible experience at first. You really have to learn to soften into that and to release all these things that come up that take you out of this place of just sitting and existing.
Yeah, that's and like that experience of meditation is like really common. Like people struggle with this, right? And because you get confronted with everything in your experience which you've been ignoring, which is the intrinsic pain.
Yeah.
So, um, I think there's distrust, but there's also like the running, like the moving towards something else, which we think is going to fulfill us. So, like the one of the reasons I think using intrinsic pleasure as sort of um, a marker is very powerful is precisely because of these instances of people meditating and it becoming overwhelming or too much because they're confronted with all of this
Yeah.
pain in their experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think for a lot of people these kinds of practices which are more embodied can be really supportive because it's about titrating these this pain which is sort of asking or like screaming to be addressed sort of, and we notice it by like discomforts and negative thoughts and like physical pain, emotional pain, uh, and sort of this general sense of dissatisfaction or dissociation. And when we're doing these practices, to me at least, it's really important that the general arc of them is actually something that leads to more contact with pleasure. Because without the body being a pleasurable place to hang out, it's really unlikely that we're going to go spend time there for like any sustained period of time. We can sort of endure it for short bursts of time, but we're not going to be able to integrate an embodied way of living into our life because it's so uncomfortable. So yeah, that's how I that's the path I think is it's at least been very fruitful for me. And sort of first of all letting myself be guided by pleasure, even if it's a really subtle experience or small experience. I'm just moving in a way that brings about this feeling of I'm okay. Actually, everything is okay. There's nothing wrong at the moment, and nothing could ever be wrong at the moment, including my experience that there is something wrong with the moment. That's also okay, and as that happens, my experience is that people's pain will start to metabolize at a pace which is digestible and not sort of overwhelming.
Yeah. So I understand correctly, your approach to embodying this intrinsic pleasure is through, embodied practice. So through feeling the body, and to the extent you're able, big or small, following this impulse of something that just feels good in the body.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Is that kind of...
Yeah, it's sort of like this stack of things. Like the body is really fundamental.
Mm-hmm.
So sensation and the visceral experience of being here is fundamental. And then there's all of the other layers, which is sort of the emotional layer and the mind and the soul and the spirit. So there's all of these stacks of contexts which sort of are asking for harmonization. But the body is fundamental, and sort of allowing ourselves to come into connection with it starts with those subtle movements.
No.
But also tuning into our body's natural or sort of built-in mechanisms for releasing the tension, keeping us from that. So that's why I always speak about yawning as a really powerful tool, which is so often overlooked because it's so simple. And also because we've got this big taboo around yawning.
In a way,
It's pretty. It runs quite deep. Like in school, we're taught that it's rude to be yawning, but the way I've come to know yawning is that it is a sign of stress, which boredom is a type of stress that we sort of seek to cope with, and yawning is one way of letting that out. But yawning is like this cleansing of the palate, sort of like you would have a piece of ginger in between the different types of sushi or whatever it is you're eating, and just sort of cleanse the palate so that you're ready for the next thing. So, because stress does build up in the body, or tension builds up in the body, and yawning is one way to sort of return to that open state.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the body is key. Yeah, but it's also so personal in a way. I feel like it depends on your unique configuration of your body and of your psyche. Like for me, on a personal note, my body has been a terrible place to live in a way because of very early trauma. And so just finding pleasure in my body, well, now I can I know my way around my body in a way, but for many years it was just an impossibility. Like there were whole areas of my body, like huge areas I just didn't feel. There was hardly any sensation in it. Also, like physically, it was kind of crazy looking back. And through all kind of somatic work, those areas slowly came back online, and it began to feel like parts of my back and parts of my face, which I just didn't feel before. But when I began to feel them, also my experience of pain skyrocketed because so much material, which was just locked out, came to the surface. So, being in a body can be, for some people, incredibly overwhelming. And, well, life is crazy intelligent. So what happened to me and what happens to quite a lot of people, also some people I work with now, is your attention or your spirit starts to use all the sources of goodness to stay alive. So for me, and also for some people I work with, the first true experiences of goodness came in my dreams. So it was more like on a soul or a deep level of the psyche, where certain images and certain experiences came to me, which were just so incredibly beautiful that they provided a thread or a guide to follow. And now more and more, I'm able to really let those experiences land into the body and really feel how this goodness, which originates on like a soul level, you could say, like on a more subtle plane, how these frequencies, you could speak, can ripple down through the mind, through the emotions, and really can settle into the body and can also transform and heal the body when consciously worked with. Like for me, that's prayer. Like one of the figures I devote myself to is like a female part of the godhead, you could say, so the goddess. And for me, that's like a living being. It's real. And when I talk about that and feel into that, and when I do my prayer and my meditation with my attention directed at that energy, I feel it in the body. It's an in the body experience of of goodness. It just feels really good. So for me, that's the most powerful way to connect myself to this experience of goodness, and something that really charges me up and enables me to move into the world. But it's different for depending on who you are. Like all humans have access points of goodness. We can all feel it somewhere, I believe. Otherwise, you wouldn't be alive, because you can't live without it. But yeah, the question is, what is your unique experience of goodness? Like, where do you feel it? Is it a feeling? Is it an emotion? Is it a visceral or somatic experience? Is it a thought even? Or anything works in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed. It doesn't really matter what it is. But in a way, like you could think of intrinsic pleasure more as a result of a process you apply. So if we try to get intrinsic pleasure, it doesn't work.
No.
So that just becomes another sort of pursuit of what I call extrinsic pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find okayness by making sure that I have this thing. So at the root of the practice, there's actually this posture of opening to what is presently being experienced, and that includes everything, right? So that's where it's not just a sort of embodied practice. It's like it includes like the feeling, like the emotional tone of our experience, like what that is. If it's like slight tiredness or some boredom or resistance or joy or whatever it is. And it also includes all the thoughts that sort of are generated by the different parts of us, or like these sort of narrative parts of us which provide this commentary to what's going on. And it also includes the soul, right? So to me, this practice I developed, which I call Dao Move, is a practice of living a life in service of the Tao, like this universal force. Not because I think you should do that, but because to me that's the thing which actually frees me up to live my life in the most purposeful, fulfilling way. And listening to the body is like the fundamental piece, or it's like one of that's sort of always been my entry point anyway, to actually moving into life, because everything we do here on this sort of mortal realm, or like this world we're inhabiting, is mediated by the body. So that's why I was drawn to like these moving meditative practices. Like when I was quite young, my mother's a Tai Chi teacher, so that's where I got into Tai Chi, which is like these movements which are very intentional, and you bring like this presence to them, but you're not just sitting still and like feeling all of the emotions. There's action, there's movement, and that really supported me. And everyone has like a different way in, I think.
But it moves through the body, that's for sure. I also experienced that in meditation, that and I also use it in the things I teach, like for example, when I pray, I also see it in basically all religious and mystical traditions, like prayer is often combined with a certain movement. Like I was in Jerusalem quite a few years ago, and the Orthodox Jews, that when they pray, you have this rocking motion. It's just one example of movement in meditation and in prayer. So there's a somatic element to this devotion to life, to God, or whatever. And also personally, when I meditate and pray and I get into states where I can really feel that, I always very often sense that there is a movement happening in my body, like automatically. So it feels like when life or spirit moves through us, that the body, wants to express that. It's like movement. So it's natural to move when we get in a place of, intrinsic pleasure or surrender to this beingness. It doesn't lead to stagnation at all.
No.
And also on a mental level, I feel like when I am able to trust and surrender into this being state, also my vision and the ideas you have about things I can do become very clear and strong. It's like I just know what to do, what I can do, and there's this strength and this active attitude to this posture of surrender in a way, which is truly fascinating.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like surrender has like a passive connotation to it.
Yeah.
But it's like in life, like this surrender, which is spoken about, it's like a very active process actually, because in a way it's like an act of really deep listening.
Yes.
Like I'm listening so closely to what's going on that I'm able to be with it, and I sort of let go of my resistance that I'm not even aware of to the experience that I'm having right now. It's like as I listen, I'm able to drop even more deeply in. Like even right now, it's like, oh yeah, there's like the subtle ways I'm holding tension are able to be relaxed as they come into awareness. Or maybe they don't relax, but that's also sort of like, oh right, there's something here that's actually asking for attention.
Yeah, it's true. I also very much feel that. It makes me think of this. I think it's a Rumi quote. also, but he says like don't waste every breath where you do not think about God is wasted. And for me, the breath is this also this movement. It's like an in and an out, and when we really focus on that breath, there's a quality of dropping into awareness in a way. It's like with every breath you become a little bit more aware and present and surrender a little bit more to this reality. And to me that feels like a prayer in a way to like the ultimate reality. It's like with every breath you devote yourself to what is. You just surrender a little bit more to reality, and in that way you do not waste your breaths. It's like you live more intentionally and more peacefully too with every breath you take. And it seems to be a way in which our souls or life can actually inhabit our being instead of being locked out because we're so busy and so fast and so cool and so whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah, there's like it makes me think about like sort of reflect back to this question you opened with, like what's the root of this disconnection with intrinsic pleasure? Because there's so many I think the pain actually collectively and like showing up individually in us and like whoever's listening, it's like there's like this pain of this disconnection. There's like a multitude of contexts. Like to be more specific, there's like community, there's purpose, there's play and fun, there's family, there's health, movement, and there's like for a huge proportion of humanity, like there's such a dissociation from many of these things which are actually required for fulfillment. Like especially connection with other people. Like that's what this is about in a way. Like there's a reason like the worst punishment we give someone is like solitary confinement. It's like total isolation from other people and robbing them of like any agency sort of in reality. So yeah, like that's what I think is another big reason it's so difficult, is because a lot of these needs, and you could call them needs or you could call them wants or sort of prerequisites for thriving, are not really met yet. But that's, in a way, that's precisely why this practice is so valuable, because it brings you into contact with that pain, which then would let you act. But the thing is, you've got to feel like action is a possibility. If you don't feel action is a possibility, then what else are you going to do than distract from the pain or find ways to cope with it or to suppress it or move it away, out of the way, so it's not intruding in your daily consciousness. So you shut off parts of yourself because that's the thing which makes sense when there's no movement possible. So that's another thing I feel like really passionate about, is like showing people that there is a way. Like there are these paths we have available to us to follow. But we've got to be willing to stay exactly where we are in movement and sort of not like rush like headlong to get away from where we are so that we can get the thing, so that we finally can be okay. It's like, okay, this movement informed by the pain that we're feeling. Once we're in contact with intrinsic pleasure, it's actually able to be metabolized into information that we can
Yeah.
act on.
That's the thing, right? It's a process of metabolizing it, and I feel when that happens, it becomes a seed. It feels like when this pain, like for example, like I'm realizing the fact that I'm isolated or I feel isolated, and I feel that, and then it hurts, and there's grief, and there's tears maybe, and there's pain. But when it's held with this receptive attitude, there is safety. There is a welcoming of this experience, and then I feel it automatically flows into action. Like it's like a energetic movement in a way, where like the pain is felt, is grieved or whatever, and then it moves to the more active side, and it's like a vision arises, like, oh wait, I can share this feeling with my partner, for example, or I can call a friend, or I can create a project to connect people with each other. And when we do that, and it's coming from this place of acceptance and not resistance of pain, you can be damn sure that the thing you're gonna do is gonna work out beautifully. Like it's such a miraculous way. Like the things I've done from that place have always worked out. Maybe not in a way I thought it would, but that's a different matter.
Yeah.
The goodness is in the movement itself, is in the fact that when we accept pain, we're truly there to feel it and hold it, that the next step or the solution presents itself more or less automatically, and you just have to follow it. And it's a process which lives very close to your being, very close to your heart. You don't have to change yourself for it. You don't have to rush or fill in a certain precondition to be able to do that. It's so close. And that's the joy of it, in a way, too. It's like we don't have to first fix climate change or stop war or whatever before we can begin to do that. It's like it's already here. That's the point.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like there's a Chinese idiom about it. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but sort of the paraphrasing of it is like there's it's like this farmer who's planted crops, and like he goes, like every day he's like, okay, I'm just like, he starts pulling on it to try to get it to grow faster.
Yeah.
Right. And like obviously like that's a stupid thing to do, like when we hear about it in that way, because it's like, yeah, what are you doing? You're just uprooting it. You're removing it from the soil that it's embedded in. But in a way, that's what we do all the time with our experience.
All the time. It's crazy.
It's like I'm just gonna pull on this like process to make it go a bit faster.
Yeah.
And then we interrupt that sort of the intrinsic movement of that seed, and on that sort of the plant that's growing, which has its own blueprint, it has its own shape within it. You've just got to, like, that's where, like, there's a lot of resonance between the way we think about things, because there's, like, I believe, like, just trusting that and sort of leaning into that, including everything, like, which is the mind, the heart, the body, not sort of shutting stuff out, but like, yeah, this has a pace to it, and I've got to respect the pace. And once I do respect the pace, actually magical things happen, which I couldn't have planned out on my own in advance. But they sort of emerge because I'm connecting to that place of unfolding.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that feels truly vital in this to me is that this process works on all levels. Like, it's personal, But considering the socio-cultural context we're living in, like the systemic challenges going on, and just the reality of our culture, I feel that there is this invitation to do this together in a way, to make this, well, that's the reason for the work we do, of course, but to make this a communal practice, that like you can work with these principles on an individual level and say like, well, it's my pain and my solution, and then you have quite a small impact. But if you want big change, you have the same principle, but you have to apply it to a communal body.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that's something that needs to happen. Well, and again, it can be forced, but I do feel this movement in the collective also towards more of those, you could say, collective growth spaces, where a group of people embody these principles or are intimate with these principles, and you have to be intimate with them. You have to feel and be it. You can't learn it mentally and then apply it. It's a different thing. But when people come together who embody these principles, I feel there's this invitation to say, hey, how does this apply to a group, to a more collective body? And how can we, well, maybe we can begin to fix some larger issues. Mm-hmm. So it scales, but we have to stay connected to the roots, because with scaling there's this pitfall of going fast and growing beyond capacity. So there's this interplay between.
There's like you know Jordan Peterson too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever people may think about him, he's got some pretty good stuff. And there's like one of his frames is like, I guess it's like one of the rules for life, actually, isn't it? Like, set your own house in order before you try to change the world.
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like epitomized by his sort of refrain, which is like, clean your damn room, right? It's like, yeah, I mean, if you can't even keep your own room or house in order, like, are you, not that you have to have it spotless and like always organized, because that's like an impossible task, because there's always stuff happening, right? But that it's easy to think that we have the solution to like these big problems, but even just like having a good, healthy relationship with our partner or child, or like being, like having a system at home that actually leads to this kind of fulfillment is incredibly challenging. So, of course, societally, it's also going to be that, but just like at an exponentially more difficult level. So I think it's like what you're describing is this set of, this group of people, perhaps, which have all set their own houses in order in terms of like working with themselves, or at least they're committed to that path, because like our own house in order is like this illusory goal which is never achieved, but there's a commitment to this way of living.
Yeah, and I think it's in the commitment, it's in the shared devotion in a way to life, because I always feel this tension in this dynamic, and it's a beautiful tension between, at the one side, is shared devotion to, in a way, the perfect human, or the perfect way of living, being from this place of pure goodness, and at the other side of the spectrum there's the inherent fact of our, you could say, human brokenness, or just the the suffering we're dealing with, for some individuals or collectives, it's not that much, but there are a lot of people and groups dealing with a great amount of suffering. So it's about holding this tension and still devoting to the process in a way. Like there's this movie, Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe you've seen it, and it's like a bunch of people or beings who are, through circumstance, very randomly thrown together on this shared mission to defeat the enemy of life, to speak in archetypic terms. And they're just going for it together, and they have fights, and they have conflict, and there's a whole load of things going on, and they are so very different, and they kind of hate each other and love each other. So a lot of things are happening, but at the same time, there is this shared movement towards this ideal, or this aim of beating this enemy of the galaxy, and in the end, they're all happy together, of course. So there is this also. I feel it's very important to be very tolerant in a way, which brings us back to this attitude of receptiveness to pain and to conflict, and to integrate all of that human mess, into this process of becoming and living from this place of goodness or pleasure. It's not through cutting that out or through avoiding it or through trying to perfect it. No. It's much more about becoming so radically loving and inviting to this pain that it just joins the ride in a way. And maybe that's the point.
I think that's pretty spot on. Yeah, there's like any time we try to remove something or cut it out, it just comes back to bite us in our ass. Like it's,
mostly harder than before.
Yeah. That's. I like that. It's also nice to hear that Guardians of the Galaxy metaphor. Yeah, because there is. I mean, like there's the spiritual bypassing.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Which is like, I'm going to pretend that everything is just love and light, and if it's not that, just decide to not feel it, or like shut it. I'm just going to shut it out of my life. And on the other side of that coin, there's like what do I call it? I forget what I call it. But it's like the opposite of spiritual bypassing, which is sort of this obsession with our pain. Like getting stuck and immersed in our pain. And like that's more the side of the spectrum I fall on than the spiritual bypassing one. So I think we're both every human is capable of both of those things. But I tend to swing more towards the sort of the fetishizing pain spectrum. That's been sort of more my challenges through the years, which is like, if I just surrender deeply enough into my pain, finally I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna finally feel okay. And that obviously didn't really work out. Spoiler alert. But it's like this. There's the radical inclusion of everything within experience. Pain, pleasure, everything in between. But still attending to what actually feels good. Like following intrinsic pleasure. Without shutting out the pain. So I think of it sometimes like a circle where it's like everything is included, but the point of focus is from this posture of non-resistance, I'm actually moving with what feels good. That's what I'm choosing to follow as a trustable impulse.
Mm.
So, because I'm like, what else are you going to trust? Like, there's not really that many other things to trust. When I speak about intrinsic pleasure being trustable, that's sort of informed by the mind, the emotions also. It's not like, I'm just going to go with what my body says regardless of anything else. It's like, no, it includes all of that also. But that's the thing, sort of my way of pointing at the moon, I guess.
Yeah, that's very important, I think, because it also gets us to the realization of will or choice. Like, from this posture of as acceptance in a way, it's you just lean back and you accept everything. Like pain comes, joy comes, you're just being, and then something awakens in us. Like we want to choose. We have a will. It's kind of, at least experientially, from the inner experience, is undeniable that there is something in us which kind of feels like we have a choice.
Yeah.
So, mythically speaking, it's like the divine spark, this realization of choice or will. It's like becoming self-aware, becoming aware of your agency and your ability to choose. And what are you going to choose then? Like which direction are you going to pick? What is going to inform your becoming or your journey through life? And it feels to me like, and that's probably what life is trying to do in this human experience. It's like we try kind of everything. We follow our lusts, and we follow pain, and we follow pleasure, and we follow this, and until we find something which is truly trustable and real and truly gives us joy in like a deep, fulfilling sense where all the questions melt away. And to me, that's when we learn to trust our soul, or we learn to trust the divine, or give it a name. We learn to trust our true being. So we try everything until we realize there's only one thing to truly trust. And then we just follow this little thread and see where it takes us.
Yeah.
That's kind of seems what's going on down here.
Yeah. That's a good summary. Yeah, I probably should have led with this in the beginning, but like the definition of intrinsic pleasure is like a pleasure that's not tied to an extrinsic source, like a source outside of you.
That's important.
Yeah, it's like that's why the definition intrinsic pleasure makes sense to me, because it's like the pleasure is arising out of intimacy with myself. There's like a close contact with myself, which is pleasurable, not in like an overwhelming, like, oh my God, it's so pleasurable. Although it can be that too, but it's like a subtle feeling of like, yes, this is it. And I sort of distinguish it from extrinsic pleasure, which is like eating chocolate or drinking coffee, or which are not wrong. There's nothing wrong with that, but they're not trustable as guidance in life on their own. Like they feel good, but you can't rely on the pleasure of coffee to sort of guide you through life.
Yeah, we've tried.
I've tried.
Yeah.
Sometimes it seems like a really good idea. It's like that. Yeah. Like after having that first double espresso of the day, it's like, oh my God, this feels great. I should have another one. Like maybe it'll feel twice as good.
Mhm. And then
And
it
that-
doesn't.
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah, I really love the way you said it, like intrinsic pleasure, that it's like, oh, this is it, this is good. You know, there's this very calm and integrative quality to it in a way. It's like, um, yeah, to me it feels like it's a place or an experience which integrates everything. So it feels like everything is just coming together. It's like, oh, you know, I'm good, life is good. You know, things click.
Mm-hmm.
And that's different than you can have pleasurable experiences which are like, this is so good, but at the same time it's fracturing you, you know, and after that you're left with this very pleasurable experience which makes you feel kind of sick because you don't know what to do with it. You know, there's also that kind of pleasure. So it's a very refined and subtle kind of pleasure which we're looking for.
Yeah, it's like it's it is a really subtle experience, and it's one that it's like speaking about like the pulling on the grass, or pulling on the plant to try to make it grow faster. There's two ways of like falling out of that sort of fine alignment, which is like it's actually a deep trust, like it's a deep groove. But in the beginning, it feels more like walking on a tightrope because you're going to be falling off all the time. And on one side, you fall off into sort of collapse and self-doubt and hopelessness, or like depression or despair, like the deeper, if you fall like really far off the tightrope. And on the other side, it's rigidity and posturing and like, oh, I'm better than everyone else, or I deserve this, or whatever it is. Or like it's mine, and I'm somehow special. And like most of us fall off to one side or the other of those, like into sort of a self-involvement, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Which is either sort of a self-pity or a self-aggrandizement. And it's not that simple, but it's... And in a way, like the center point, as we're balancing on this tightrope, which is an active process, like that's the active listening part of it. Like you never find your balance and then you don't have to worry about balancing again. Like balancing is like a ongoing thing.
Yeah.
You've sort of got to be willing to fall off to either side of this tightrope into sort of self, like a grandiosity, or like a humility. So like the healthy version of those is like courage and humility. Like, and having both of those co-present, like where I'm not pretending to be a perfect sort of human being who's infallible and awakened, which is really easy to fall into. Like as someone teaching this, it's like, oh, I need to give off this impression that I'm already done.
Yeah.
I'm already perfect. And that's a real big trap to fall into.
Yeah.
Which
it is.
like lots of gurus have done, sort of failed in spectacular ways.
Yeah.
Sort of through like their shadows showing up. So I think what's happening right now is like there's this call to really include our humanity. That we're all just humans, so who happen to be sort of incarnated, or we're souls who happen to be incarnated here as like these humans who are like trying to figure stuff out, and we don't really know what the right answer is, but so we're trusting in this deeper intelligence, which we all have access to.
Yeah. I just love the sentence you just um, spoke, like the willingness to fall off. That seems to be such a big deal. Because in a way, our ability to live a fulfilling life or to be real life seems to be so much tied to our willingness to fall off. Also, like this courage and humility to say like, well, I really don't fucking know, and I'm just gonna try and do this thing.
Yeah.
Because there is this very deep intuitive pull to do it, but I really don't know what's gonna happen. It might be a terrible idea. And to step into it anyway with this soft attitude underneath it in a way. And that seems to be the thing tying it all together. Like, it's about choosing in a way and be willing to fall off instead of unconsciously getting into a position where you feel yourself as very important or very hurt and unimportant.
Yeah.
Like, both of those positions are perfect, but we can, bring it together when we choose to be there with our eyes open and dare to step into those places and, just have the experience willingly and also be willing to adjust our course, if that seems to be the good thing.
Yeah. It's like, and like the willingness to fall off is, it's like, it's also the willingness to admit to ourselves first and foremost that we have fallen off.
Yeah.
Like being willing to hear, oh fuck. Like I really remember these moments where I was like, sort of return to contact, and I still have these moments where I'm like, oh yeah, this is it, and I've actually been in some sort of subtle defense for a couple of days or something. I've been like holding on for dear life, trying to be okay. Where it's like, oh yeah, there's a deeper okayness underneath here that I actually can just rest into, where I don't have to strive and sort of fly the flag of I'm great or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, just indeed with the whole people falling off their high places these days, it seems to be such an invitation to just to our humanity, just our shared humanity, which means that sometimes we kind of know what we're doing and sometimes we really don't. And that whether you have a lot of power, be it spiritual or monetary, doesn't really matter. You're still human. And just a simple acknowledgement of that, of the crazy mystery of that fact, and that really feels really good to feel that acknowledgement of like, wow, we're just here together as humans, and we're all doing this little thing, and we all have our pain and we all have our joy, and it's this one, in a way, one spectacle in which no one is really perfect or special, and at the same time everyone is.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, what more is there to say?
Now we're done. Now we're gonna fall off. Yeah. Yeah, when talking about this intrinsic pleasure thing, you also quickly enter the space of no words, which is a problem for a podcast because it's words.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. A little yawn.
Yeah. Yeah. yeah, this is where the music starts, you know. Yeah. Yeah. I love this quality. I also feel it right now. This eternal freshness in a way, or this eternal newness, which comes with feeling this presence or this field or this quality of goodness or pleasure. It's like it's evergreen, you know. It's like it never gets old. It never seems to die. It's always it lives beyond time. You could say that's why I would say why it's a soul quality, or it's like a quality beyond time and space. It's eternal, and yeah, it's quite a blessing to be alive and to be able to feel that in a way.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing, this aliveness, human thing.
Yeah, it's very much present right now. You can feel it. So I love that feeling. To me, it feels like grace or blessing. Like if that quality is present in someone or the work someone is doing, then it feels like important work.
Yeah, I agree. To me, it's like the work that's worth doing. Like this is it's like this is what feels like makes me alive. This is what makes this life worth inhabiting. Like, you could say it's like what I'm here to do is like the purpose, or it's like that's like as I've been practicing this and abiding by these principles and learning how to navigate, like this is what I seem called to be doing, like supporting people with that, and in sort of my own way contributing to like more of this way of being spread into the world.
Yeah. There's one thing I feel that's circling, which is maybe a good closing topic. We'll see where it goes. Like maybe this is also a way my intrinsic pain is showing up, but we'll see where it leads. Because I feel there is also this call in a way to truly stand for this kind of work and this kind of experience. Like I think what I'm not going to say now are your own words basically, but like spiritually gifted people have this tendency to be kind of drawn back with themselves and the people who they resonate with, you know. So there's quite a limited impact on the larger socio-cultural landscape, at least on a physical level. And something I am kind of playing and sometimes struggling with, and also I also feel called to it on a much deeper level, is to kind of bring some power and some fire and some real will to bear when it comes to spreading and embodying and bringing these principles and these teachings in a way into the larger cultural context, and not in a forced way or an angry way, but in a way which is truly powerful, but still grounded in this receptive attitude of goodness. Like, yeah, it feels important to me that these two qualities, like you could say the strength and the pleasure and the goodness of being, kind of merge a little, and that we as spiritual people kind of get some fire going in a way, and yeah, make some more tangible change in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that resonate with you? Do you have any ideas on how that can take shape? Or
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one, I think.
it sure
But
is.
I think that's did feel like the sound. No, there it is. Sound came back. Yeah, I think that is what soul is asking of us. Like the Tao, that's what Tao or God or whatever you want to call it, like this intelligence wants. That's what I can feel it wants of me.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
like to bring it into the world. And I don't know, in a way, I don't have much. I can't decide what the outcome of that will be. But I can keep on showing up, and I can keep on learning the skills to do that more effectively.
Mm.
That's what I can do, and I can keep on sort of meeting the fear, which is also accompanies that, right? Like being visible in the world in that way. And I think that's a really integral piece of that.
What is meeting the fear?
Yeah,
Yeah,
meeting the fear and moving into the world and allowing this visibility of this perspective, which is really just being, like, allowing the full expression of this being that I am. Like letting this the light come through as I sort of surrender, like the self-importance of sort of the egoic ambition, and drop into, well, what really wants to be expressed and what's needed. So I think it's a really difficult one. It's one which is not easy to balance with everything else, but it's luckily there's lots of people doing it, and it feels like it's actually coming more and more into like the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
There's more space for it. There's more permission for it. There's yeah. In the end, it's like it's all okay. Like the struggles, the attempts, the way we're never gonna fully complete the thing that we're here to do in this lifetime, right? Like there's like an embrace of that. There's what feels like brings the most fulfillment to me is like the embrace of my mortality. I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And we all are going to die. And at the same time, not collapsing into, well, what's the point of it anyway? Like collapsing into like the nihilistic trap where we sort of think that nothing really matters anyway. So like there's like a sweet spot between those two perspectives of there's meaning to be found everywhere, and in the end, it's all pointless. And as we live that perspective into the world, that, yeah, is enough, I think.
I think so too. Yeah. I resonate quite a bit with the fear part also, like when we're talking about this theme of showing up in the world from this place, standing up for it and bringing some fire in a way, or some strength to bear, I feel a lot of power, a lot of strength, and a lot of vitality, a lot of life that's moving. And at the same time, it awakens quite a great fear of just like it feels like a lot, and it is quite a lot. So it feels like this stepping into the world makes us meet our edge in a way. And to me it feels like an invitation to do step into the world and to do these things and to have these conversations and to do the work, while at the same time not being crushed by the fear or avoiding it and falling into this self-aggrandizement, but meeting this fear and again making it the seed or the soil for this power to arise. So again, the fear we feel when we meet the world becomes the seed for the very act of meeting the world. When we include it, I feel that very strongly.
Yeah.
Because all the information in what I need to be or what needs or is wanting to happen is condensed in a way in this fear, is held in this contractive place of pain. So again, the medicine is in the wound.
It is. Yeah, I think it's really a key part of it. Like when I was deep in like the exploratory phase of this, discovering what it was, like that's like I explored dance and performances and stuff like that too, and precisely that was what created the performances which were like which contacted the transcendent for
Sure.
me. That was like when I fully included all of me, and I didn't try to hide anything, or I didn't try to make myself seem a certain way. Like that's when all of the humanity and also all of the beauty and the transcendent of it could come through. And I think that's like that's really the key. It's like we're here with all of us. Let's include it all.
Yeah. And also then as a teacher and as a guide, it's the same thing. It's like, it's just showing up fully and not in the popular interpretation of that, which mostly means that people show up like a little bit rigid or overly strong, but like fully, like as a human, like with your power and also with your fear, just bring it in and just make it one movement. That seems to be the invitation.
Yeah. Without collapsing or going into rigidity.
Yeah.
Like that's it's like including the fear is can be a beautiful thing, but it can also be like a awkward thing.
It feels
like
awkward to me, quite awkward, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, occasionally I'll say like, oh yeah, I'm feeling fear. But I also feel like, well, what's actually in service of being here right now? Sometimes like I found like revealing revealing my experience can be a way to sort of avoid taking responsibility for like the path forwards, actually pointing the way, and vice versa. Sometimes just like moving over it can be sort of bypassing this richer field which is there, and it's all like this negotiation between, like, actually in this moment as I'm here, I don't know what the right path forwards is, and I've got to acknowledge that, and I can still have a plan that I can sort of feel my way forwards with.
Yeah. Yeah, that resonates deeply. Like, you have a plan, you know, there is discipline, there is structure. These things are important, and you set it out, and then you move into the world or into whatever you're doing. And the plan or the thing is a guide, but you feel, you surrender forward in a way. It's like a falling forward, trusting the unfolding, and having this plan or this discipline or these concepts is vital, but they need to be regarded as lines of sight or as directions and not as ultimate reality. So we have to include this receptivity and this surrender into the forward movement.
Yeah, like if I'm leading a group, I'm always tuned into like, actually what's in service of this space right now. I'm just feeling into that. And over the years, through a lot of trial and error, there's like a lot of sensitivity that's been developed to that, like, which is like just an embodied knowing of like, oh yeah, this is how to do that. But there's so much trial and error along the way, and sort of leading myself into territories which actually, oh, this doesn't feel so good anymore. Like, and what am I doing here? Oh shit! And then as I reflect on it later, I was like, oh yeah, I collapsed actually there. I didn't actually take that moment of leadership, or oh, I was trying to get the approval of this person, or whatever it was. There's something which took me off the path, which caused me to wobble in my okayness and my trust. But it's also a skill issue. It's like, inevitably you're going to fall off, and the falling off contains so much information if we're willing to see it and sort of acknowledge when we fell off.
So we'll just continue to walk the line and fall off gloriously every once in a while.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. Is there anything that feels important for you to mention to kind of close it off? Like any lingering threads or something that wants to be said?
No.
Good. Yeah, same here. Feels like a great circle. And already looking forward to letting this conversation settle and inform my being in a way. It's very rich to feel the resonance at such profound levels. It's a true blessing to be able to experience that. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you too, brother. It's good.